So you're probably aware of the sign when somebody's knees cave in. That's often an indicator of glute max weakness. So you've probably seen that, you've probably heard about it, you probably know. But do you know why that is? And did you know that sometimes we actually need internal rotation at the hip to be able to access our glute? So let's take a look at that and see how we can improve it. So when we think about that glute max, that muscle is running from our whole pelvis and our sacrum coming over, and it has an ability to compress the sacrum here. And then it also runs over and attaches to the femur, which is how it influences our knee. So as that glute max contracts, it rotates the knee open. So when you squeeze your glute, it pulls your knee open. When somebody's glute max is weak, we're gonna see that knee cave in. But sometimes if we have a tense or tight muscle, then we're not going to be able to have it available to get strong because it's not able to move through its full range of motion. So what we want to think about for the glute is not only lengthening into internal rotation at the femur, but also lengthening into internal rotation at the pelvis. So that's kind of a fun concept to be able to address it from both sides. So I have Anna here with me today, and she's going to run us through her favorite exercise for one, checking for the ability of the pelvis to move into this internal rotation range, and two, to look at that available range and how that might influence the glute max. So come try this test with us.
All right, so in this exercise, we're really gonna isolate the movement in the pelvis with the idea that we're trying to get the glutes to lengthen and get that internal rotation to give them a place to then contract back from. So when we go to do this, Sarah's gonna be in an inverted position. So she's gonna have one knee elevated on the yoga block. And you could do this on your hands like this, but I tend to prefer on forearms if you can, because that can help kind of lock the rib cage in place to help isolate the movement in the pelvis. When people are kind of sticky and don't move as well in the pelvis, they're gonna get the movement from somewhere else, which can often mean their ribs are kind of flaring and their spine is doing more of the movement versus here. That being said, if they're in this position and feel a lot of neck tension, then you can definitely go onto the hands instead. So in this position, with the left knee elevated, this is helping to kind of push this femur back in the socket and create length in this left glute. So as we're doing this, we're saying, okay, can this femur stay pointed straight up and down vertically? Don't worry, I'll give you another view here in a minute, while this right knee is on the ground. If they're in this position and are kind of like falling off to the side or swinging out to the side of the hips, it might mean that you need to start with something lower at first and then build up to something a little bit higher, or doing a little bit of release work back here first. So Sarah's gonna stay with hips right over knees, shoulders right over elbows. She's gonna drive down through this left knee and suck this right hip up and in. So now we're looking at the drive of this left glute and the opening of this right glute, and then she's gonna slow and controlled lower her right hip down, staying centered over this left knee to look at that eccentric lengthening of this left glute here. Now, if she had a hard time coming up, you might see someone kind of shift to the side, they might shift forwards, they might arch in their back, instead of being able to keep all of this nice and steady with that core connection here as she drove that relative movement in her pelvis instead. So let's go ahead and do another view here. So we're gonna flip so that her feet are facing you. Great. So what I'm looking at from this angle is, even to start, are her femurs here vertical and parallel to each other? Or let's go ahead and move your right knee out to the side here. People will kind of shift off of that leg. And so you can see how this leg is now actually an external rotation and not sitting into that glute. So we would have her scooch over and move that knee in to be able to get that femur directly underneath that pelvis. All right, so then now when she goes to pick up and have her drive down through the side and lift her left hip up, we're looking for the ability for her right bum here to get higher than the left side. So this is this glute here working on this side to pull that pelvis up, and then her right abs and even iliacus are helping to lift up, and then she's controlled going back down. As she comes up and comes down, she's gonna make sure that she maintains equal pressure on her left knee throughout the movement. So sometimes people come up, and when they come down, they fall off towards the side here instead of keeping it nice and parallel. Some other things that you could use as well is you could scooch somebody up to a wall so that they're not leaning into the wall, but using it as a reference point to make sure that they're not hanging out over there, but staying directly over, both for the going up and the going down. One last thing we can consider here is that we would compare one side versus the other. So then we would flip it and have her right knee here and be like, okay, how does this side do in this bottom position compared to the other? Does she have a harder time staying over this hip? That means that maybe I need to work a little bit more internal rotation on this side compared to the other side. Then when she goes to pick up, I'm making sure that this left side can lift up just as high as the right side did. So that's indicating the ability to access the glutes here on this right side to create that push off and then coming back down. So you can see how you can use it not only to help, that's great, thank you. Use it as—
Hope everybody enjoyed the view.
Yes, exactly. As a corrective, but also as an assessment to see how much relative movement they can get on each side for both that lengthening and that push off. Now in this position, I'll find that a lot of time, rather than necessarily commenting that they feel a bunch in their glutes working, it's more that they feel their abs working hard to be able to stabilize.
I felt that cross-body connection big time.
So she's like, hang out there a little
my
longer.
obliques were like, whoo, this is work.
Yeah. So we think about how maybe we need that added stability in your core and in your abs here to be able to drive more of that movement from the place that doesn't want to do as much of the movement. So it can be a really great way to kind of feel that connection and call those areas out and then give you better accessibility to your glutes in other upright positions.
Perfect. Thanks, Anna.